I'm going to share with you today the whole process of making a sourdough loaf. So right here I have my starter that's actually ready to go. It takes 4 to 6 hours for a starter to get to its full peak. In my house I keep it about 70 to 71 degrees, so it takes about 4 hours to hit its peak. So I'm measuring out 250 grams of starter into my bowl. And then I'm going to take 750 grams of filtered warm water. The warmer the water, the faster the bread dough will rise, but you don't want it hot. You just want it kind of a warm temperature. Now I've got my sea salt and I'm measuring 24 grams of that into the mixture of starter, water, and salt. Mix it up really good. It's going to be chunky, but just try to mix it up the best you can. Then after that, I'm adding 1,000 grams of high protein unbleached flour. My favorite flour is Ballerina Farms. I'll leave the link in the description below. And you just want to take it off of your scale and give it a good mix. Your dough is going to look shaggy just like this looks right here, and make sure to kind of scrape all the edges down to kind of keep it neat and orderly. Cover it with a bowl cover for an hour. Then you're going to come back and you're going to do your stretch and folds for after the first hour of it resting. You want to turn it every quarter of the bowl and just lift up, shake it a little bit, and put it on top of itself, and then scrape the corners down again. Let it rest for another hour. Then you come back to it and you start doing your coil folds. You're going to just scoop up into the center of the dough, raising it up as high as you can just to kind of release it down and fold it over. So pull it up, stretch, fold it over. And you're going to do this every quarter of turn as well. So 4 times, lifting it up and then folding it over. Again, scraping down the sides to keep everything really clean. It's just easier that way. All the dough is put together. You don't have a mess, and it all processes the same. Cover it for another hour. Then you're going to come in with your second coil folds. Again, lifting in the center. It does help if you get your hands a little damp. Lifting in the center, lifting up, and folding it over. Doing this 4 times every quarter turn of the bowl. And you'll notice the dough is starting to get tighter. This is the gluten that's developing in the dough, and it's stiffening up a little bit. This is exactly what we're wanting. You're going to notice little air bubbles on top of it too forming. That's perfect. Go ahead and scrape the bowl down, keeping it nice and orderly. Cover it with the bowl cover and then let it rest for another hour. This is our third coil fold. Lifting it up, shaking a little bit, folding it over itself, lifting again, and folding over itself. Again, 4 turns of the bowl we're going to complete with the same process. This is the third coil folds. Again, clean, scraping it, keeping it nice and orderly. You're going to put another bowl cover over the top and let it rest for another hour. Now we're on to our 4th and last coil folds. You'll notice that it's starting to get bigger. There's more bubbles in it. It's easier to lift up. It's all kind of grabbing as one big chunk. Again, still turning it 4 times, and it's going to get tighter and tighter. This is perfect. This is the last process we're going to do before we cover it and let it rest for 2 to 6 hours in the bulk fermentation process. So what you're going to do is cover it up. It's going to sit for 2 to 6 hours. I would check it after 2 hours. And this is what you're going to want to look for. You want the dough to be just a tiny tacky on the top. You should be able to do exactly what I'm doing by just lightly pressing on the dough without it really sticking to you, and it should pull away from the bowl very easily. That means the bulk fermentation process is complete. It should pour right out of your bowl just like it did in this process. It poured right out nice and clean. Once that happens, you're going to want to cut your dough in half, and we're going to start the shaping process of our dough. Now this is pretty easy to do. It might look a little hard, but you want to just get some flour on the countertop, flour on your dough, flip it over, and just dimple both sides of it just to kind of get out those air bubbles as much as you can. And then flip it back over, do the same process, kind of dimple it, and then we're gonna fold it in and then fold the sides in, kind of like a little stitching. And then the very top, we're gonna roll all the way over to create a ball. This is where I call this a J roll. Kind of think of it like a candy cane. I'm doing it in the shape of a candy cane, the little hook at the top and then pulling it forward towards you. What you're doing by doing this is you're creating tension within the dough itself. So you continue to do it. If it gets a little tacky, just lay down a little bit of flour. What you don't want is for that ball to start breaking open. If you see that starting to break open, you want to stop. And once it's tight enough, then you just want to twist the bottom and just get a nice twist to create more tension and kind of tie it off on the bottom. See, you could see on mine it was starting to break open a tiny bit. I stopped. So that's what you want to do. You actually really don't want that to happen at all. So that is a really good example of what not to do. It's not going to hurt my dough right now at all because I'm going to go in here a second time and do the whole thing again after it's rested for a bit. And I'll explain that later. But in showing you that's you don't want to push it so far in tightening that it just starts to open up. So again, on that second dough, I'm creating the exact same thing, doing the J roll, getting it tighter. And, you know, maybe you'll know exactly what is best for you. Maybe you only count to 10 and then it ends up being fine. I kind of just try to feel it. Usually I don't have pieces that break open like that. So if you do have it happen, it's not honestly that big of a deal, but you don't want to create that really messy, opened up type of dough. As you can see, as I tighten it, the air bubbles are starting to form. And again, you don't want those to break open because that's what's happening as those break open as it gets tighter. So you lightly flour the bottom of the countertop and let those rest for 30 to 45 minutes. As it's resting, you want to lightly sprinkle your Bannaton. I love the silicone ones with the filtered water, and I sprinkle rice flour inside of it so that they don't stick. After my dough has sat for 30 to 45 minutes, I will take and repeat the whole process over again. This is where I was saying that if it did break open the very first time, on the first go around of creating your dough ball, it's okay, but try not to let that happen. Things are going to happen as you're learning how to work with sourdough. It's a discovery all the time. I've gone through so many different things myself, epic fails and then epic wins. So that's the beauty of it. I think that's fun. That's how you learn, right? So again, on the second time around, you're just going to do the exact same process as what you did the first time. And as you can see, I didn't go as long. I don't want it to break open. And I twist it. And then I'm going to put it with the smooth side down inside the bowl, a Bannaton. So flip it over, and the bottom, I do a little bit of pull and stitch. So I'm stitching it over itself. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour or rice flour over it. I did a little bit of flour first, and then I'm going in with my rice flour, and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of that on the top. That's going to help it to not stick to the silicone Bannaton. You want to cover it with your bowl cover, and if you do get a bowl cover, make sure to get a bowl cover that is a waterproof, lined inside. That's going to hold your moisture. It's not going to dry out your dough. It's going to make it perfect. And I can leave that in the description as well. I did the same exact thing with my second dough. And then I pop them in the fridge for 2 to 6 hours. They're in the refrigerator. So this time I left it in for 6. The longer you leave it in the fridge, the more sour the dough will get. And it does slow down the bulk fermentation a little bit, but 2 to 6 hours is good depending on your time. You could leave it even longer, but I generally try to leave it in 2 to 6 hours. I don't really like a really heavy sour taste to my bread. So when it's ready, I flip it out of the Bannaton and put it on parchment paper and sprinkle a bunch of flour on top. This is when we're going to score the top of the dough with a razor blade. I have just a regular, I do hair for a living, so I have all kinds of clean razor blades that are brand new that I just use all the time. And I'm doing a simple kind of a crisscross over the top, just so it opens up really nice and pretty in the center, and it leaves crisp edges on the top. So I'm digging kind of deep because I want that really to open up. On the second one, I'm just going to do just a little design, and you can get kind of crafty and just kind of put your little designs in it, whatever you're wanting to do. You don't have to press very hard when you're doing these designs. So yeah, and then you're going to score a big section always whenever you're doing a design, because you need that air to get through there to open up, or your design is going to split wide open. So give it a little bit of an escape to just open up by doing a big score somewhere on the bread. Once I'm done with that, I've heated my oven to 450 degrees. I've left my Dutch ovens in there for an hour before I knew I was going to bake them. I put in a half a cup of ice in in each of them, actually, about a half a cup of ice. What that does is it helps to steam the dough when it's in there baking. It makes a really nice crust. So I'm just dropping them in there, and I'm going to cover them up and place them back in the oven for 25 minutes. Once they're out of the oven, then I take the lid off, and you can see they've risen really nicely. They're going to look really good. Now I'm putting them back in the oven for another 15 minutes to get golden brown. And there we go. There we have it. There's one loaf. That's what I was talking about, the peaked brown edges. So good. You're going to want to take them out of your Dutch ovens right away, or they will continue to cook. Take them off the parchment paper and on a cooling rack so that they don't get soggy on the bottom. Do that with both. And there you have it. You know, sourdough is definitely a journey. It's not hard. Please don't be discouraged or intimidated. I understand it though, because I was, but now going through the whole process, it's not discouraging at all. I literally could make bread every single weekend. I love it.